Good evening, everyone. This week's Parsha is Parshas Tavo. I'd like to dedicate tonight's class in memory of my mother, Mrs. Shalamis Rabinowitz, Shalamis Bas, Rav Yaakov Eliezer. Our learning should be a aliyah for her neshama. So this week's Parsha starts off with the mitzvah of Bikurim, which is the mitzvah that we are to take from the first of our ripened fruits of the Shivas Haminim, the 7 species of fruits that Eretz Yisrael is praised with. And we take from those first fruits, we bring them up to the Beis HaMikdash, to the Holy Temple. And we read there, this is Perek Chafav, chapter 26, Pasuk Gimel, verse 3. Uvasal HaKohen shall come to the Kohen, Ashiyah Bayamim Ohem, that will be in those days. Yamar Elav, and you should say to him, Higati Hashem Elokecha, I make it known, I tell today before Hashem your God, Kivasi Elo Aretz, that I have come to the land. Asher Nishba Hashem La'Veiseinu L'Seis Lanu. I have come to the land that Hashem has sworn to our forefathers to give to us. Lokach HaKohen Atenu Miyadecha. The Kohen then takes the basket from your hand, and he places it before the altar of Hashem your God. These fruits will not be offered as a sacrifice, but they are put down before the altar. And you shall raise your voice and say, Lifnei Hashem Elokecha, before Hashem your God. And the next few psukim are what's called the Mikra Bikurim, the reading of the declaration that's made when bringing the Bikurim, which is a declaration of thanks to Hashem, not only just for the fruits in the land of Israel, but actually going back a quick summary of the kindnesses of Hashem to the Jewish people, taking us out of Egypt, bringing us to how at first we were saved. Our forefather Yaakov was saved when he lived by his father-in-law Lavan, went down to Egypt, started as a small nation, became a numerous nation. The Egyptians dealt very harshly with us and enslaved us. We cried out to Hashem, our voices. He took us out with great miracles, and he brought us to this land. And behold, the conclusion is, I have brought the first fruits of this land before you, Hashem. This is the expression of gratitude that a person does when he brings the Bikurim. Now, Rabbi Yochanan Levovitz of the Mir Yeshiva in Poland before World War II, addressed a very interesting idea that we see from the Parsha. It's really something that seems very basic and elementary, but he was saying it because he sees that there were people that are a little bit lax in what we're about to talk about. And what we see a person does when they bring Bikurim shows us clearly what we should be doing. And that is that Rabbi Yochanan Levovitz points out that anytime a person does you a favor, you should go over and express your thanks for what he did for you. And there seem to be people that somehow or another hesitate to do this, sometimes coming with an excuse of, well, they know I appreciate what they did. They know I feel gratitude. They understand that. So why do I have to express it? They know I feel gratitude. And you see from the Parsha that when it comes to gratitude towards Hashem, we don't just leave it inside and say, well, Hashem knows. We express it. And if this is how we deal with gratitude when it comes to the gratitude that we are to feel towards Hashem, then that is meant to be a lesson to us also how we deal with gratitude when it comes to another person. They work the same way. The fact that Rabbi Yochanan Levovitz says that we learn that you have to express your gratitude from here, from the way a person expresses their gratitude to Hashem, that shows us how we are to deal with gratitude, not only with Hashem, but with people also. And therefore, when it comes to people, a person should never say, I don't need to say it. He's going to know. The person knows already. They know that I appreciate it. They know I feel gratitude to them. No, the Torah says not enough. You have to express the gratitude, as we do here. Now, if we stop and think for a second, why is it important to express our gratitude to another person? Simply put, it would seem that you're assuming that they know that you feel gratitude to them, that you appreciate what they did. But if you don't actually say it, maybe they won't know it. Maybe they'll question in their minds. Maybe they'll say to themselves, maybe he doesn't appreciate what I did. Maybe he takes it all for granted. And therefore, you need to express it to show not that way. But if that's the only reason why we have to express our gratitude to someone, then that wouldn't be something that we're going to learn from how we express our gratitude to Hashem, because Hashem doesn't need to know from us that Hashem doesn't. We don't need to let Hashem know that we feel gratitude. He knows that. That's not a question. And therefore, if we see that Rabbi Yerucham is learning up, how we deal with gratitude from the way that we deal with gratitude to Hashem, that just like there we express it, so to another human being we also express it. Well, if the only reason rather would be to express it to someone is to make sure they know, that's not applicable to Hashem. Hashem knows. So perhaps there is another way we can explain it. And we'll start off with the Sefer HaChinuch. Sefer HaChinuch goes through the 613 mitzvahs and explains them, gives us some understanding to them. And when he deals with this mitzvah about the reading that we do, the declaration that we say when we bring Bikurim, so he explains the mitzvah in the following way. A person awakens his thoughts, and he formulates the truth in his heart, through the power of the words of his mouth. There are things that we can think about. There can be things that are in our hearts and our minds. But when you actually express it, you awaken them and you crystallize them. You make them stronger, more intense, more real. Al Kain, therefore, when Hashem has been benevolent to a person and blessed him in his land to be able to produce fruits, and now he has the merit to bring them to the house of our God, to the Beis HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. It is worthy that he should awaken his heart, with the words of his mouth, and to contemplate that everything comes to him from the Master of the world. And he tells of Hashem's kindnesses upon us, and his kindness for the Jewish people in general. And therefore, we go back to the beginnings of the Jewish people, and we start off with the fact that our forefather Yaakov was saved from his father-in-law Lavan. The Inyan Aveidas HaMitzrim Banu, and we talk about the Egyptian enslavement, the Tzilanu Baruch Hu Miyadim, and Hashem saved us from their hands. The Achar HaShevach, and after delivering these words of praise to Hashem, he then prays that Hashem should continue to shower with him with blessings. And through the awakening of his soul by praising Hashem, uvetuvai, and in his goodness, now the person merits that his land is blessed. Therefore, God commanded us to do this because he is a God of kindness, a God who wants to shower us with good. The point here of the chinuch is that the purpose of this expression of our gratitude is because what we express is what we truly feel. What we express awakens the thoughts in our hearts and our minds. It makes it more intense. We truly feel it. And when we do that, when we come to those strong feelings of gratitude and recognition that everything comes from Hashem, that is a cause for Hashem to continue to bless us further. This is a concept, this is a theme that the Sefer HaChinuch mentions here, and in other and by Berachas Hamazon, and that the grace after meals, the benching that we say after we eat. that there too, the idea is that when we express our gratitude to Hashem, that is the reason, that's the cause, that's the means by which Hashem gives us more reason to thank him. When we truly thank him, he blesses us more to continue thanking him. And here too, when we thank Hashem truly by expressing our thanks and feeling and strongly feeling gratitude to him, that gratitude, that recognition, gratitude for the blessings that he has given us becomes the reason for more blessings. And therefore Hashem gave us this mitzvah, says the Sefer Chinuch, as he says in other places, because he wants to bestow good upon us, and it's through the mitzvahs that we do that he bestows good upon us. But what we see from here is this concept that when you express, when you actually say and speak out what you feel, that crystallizes and strengthens and awakens the feelings within you. So therefore, we can now explain that the reason that which we learn, now we can explain why we express our gratitude to someone who's done good for us. That's because we find an idea that the gratitude that we show to someone else is really meant to build the trait of gratitude within us so that we can then channel it to Hashem. We need a real contact. We need a context where we are dealing with someone else and we feel gratitude to them to develop the trait of gratitude within us. Because without that, we don't really have where to, so to speak, to practice it, to cultivate it, to develop it. And once we do that for someone else, we then do that to Hashem. And therefore, if the way that we are to come to express our gratitude to Hashem is through speaking it out, crystallizing our thoughts, awakening our thoughts, making them stronger and more real, then that is how we express our gratitude to another human being. This is our practice area. This is our development area. If we're going to develop the trait of gratitude to channel to Hashem, we have to develop it, cultivate it in the strongest manner. How is that going to be? That's going to be by speaking out, by expressing the gratitude. When we express the gratitude, we build those feelings, we energize those feelings, we make those feelings real. That helps us develop and that's the development of true, strong gratitude within us that we cultivate and build within us to channel it to Hashem. And therefore, besides for the fact that we should be expressing our gratitude to someone else because they may not even realize that we feel it, there's a deeper meaning. And that deeper meaning is because gratitude that's expressed is gratitude that's more real. And this is how we develop a strong sense and feeling of gratitude. We develop the trait of gratitude in a strong and energetic way. It becomes part of us so that we can now channel those that trait of gratitude to our service of Hashem. Now, we also read how when this Mikra Bikurim, how this declaration of Bikurim is said, it says Va'anisa va'amarta. Now, the word Va'anisa we typically translate as Va'anisa, and you shall answer. But here it doesn't mean that. Here it means you shall lift up your voice. Now, why is it important to lift up our voice when we are expressing this gratitude? We could answer it based on the Sefer Chinuch that we just said before. If the point of expressing gratitude is to awaken the feelings of gratitude within us and to make them strong and real, well, we know that when you say something loud, it awakens the feelings within you than if you say it softly. That's the way it is. When we express something in a loud way, we say it with more emotion. It builds up the emotion, it builds up the feelings within us. Therefore, if we want to express and build up the feelings of gratitude within us, then the way to do that is, and we want to make them strong feelings, then the way to do that is by lifting up our voice. The louder we say it, the more emotion we're putting, the more emotion we build, the more feeling we build in the gratitude that we feel and express. That could be one way of explaining it. The Sfas Emes gives another explanation, and he explains like this. Anytime we endeavor to do something for ourselves, to sustain ourselves, we face the challenge of giving ourselves the credit and not to Hashem. A farmer, we find, in the words of our sages, is actually someone who is from the strongest believers in God. And that's because a farmer knows very well that to succeed, there is something that he needs that is completely beyond his control, and that's called rain. And therefore, a farmer is always looking to God for rain. It's kind of forced into it. He can't hide. He can't run to anywhere else to think that where it's going to come from. He can't make it. No one else can make it. And therefore, he turns his eyes to Hashem. The thing is, though, that once he is blessed with the rain and he's blessed to produce the crops, he's got the produce. So then, unfortunately, like many situations, we kind of say, we got what we need from God, and we kind of push him aside. And at that point, we'll start thinking that, yes, I did a good job here. I did it right. I did it well. Because of that, the Torah says to the farmer, take your first fruits, take the first of your fruits, and bring them to the Beis HaMikdash and express your gratitude to Hashem. No, it's not you. It's about Hashem. At the same time, a person can go and express his gratitude, say the Mikra Bikurim, say the declaration of the Bikurim, but it's not so wholehearted because in the back of his mind, he credits himself too. And that full expression and feeling of gratitude to Hashem, that we have nothing but Hashem, could be lacking. So therefore says the Sfas Emes, when you express your thanks to Hashem, say it out loud. You know why? Because if you remember, before you got so full of yourself, and before you really didn't know if you were going to succeed and you were turning your eyes and your heart to Hashem, you cried out to him. You didn't just, mumble a few words to him. You really expressed your needs. You really expressed with feeling and with emotion, which is when a person is in serious need and they cry out to Hashem. They cry out to Hashem. When you cry out, when you're doing something with high emotion, you cry out. You do raise your voice in doing it. When you prayed, you prayed in a raised up voice. You cried out to Hashem. So when you thank Hashem, do it in the same manner, so that you'll remember that just as I cried out to Hashem, that's how I'm thanking Hashem. By thanking him in a loud voice, that's supposed to remind us how we cried out to Hashem, and to remind us how there was a point that we knew we were totally dependent on Hashem, and therefore the gratitude you express will be done wholeheartedly. It's the idea that essentially when we give thanks to Hashem, we should be giving thanks to Hashem the same way that we prayed to him. We prayed with fervor, we prayed with emotion, we prayed realizing that we're dependent on him. And after we have it, we shouldn't lose that feeling. We shouldn't lose that understanding or that emotion. And therefore, the Torah tells us, thank Hashem in a raised up voice. Thank Hashem the same way that you pray to him. And remember that. Remember, when you're thanking Hashem, you should thank him the way that you pray to him. Thank him in the same way that you realized how dependent you were on him when you needed him, when you were in deep need. Realize that when you thank him after you've gotten it, that you're thanking him because even after you have received it and after you have succeeded, you are as dependent on him as you were when you didn't have what you had. That's why we do it in a raised voice. So the beautiful story about a woman who, let me back up a little bit. There is a city or area in Eretz Yisrael in Israel called Amuka. Amuka comes from the word amok, deep. It's an area that you have to go down, 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 low. It's like this. You go down this winding road down, I guess, a mountain, and it brings you to an area where there's the grave of one of the Tanoim, one of the sages of times of the Mishnah, whose name was Yonasan ben Uziel. And there is a tradition that if you go through the effort of visiting the grave of Yonasan ben Uziel, that this is an auspicious place to find a shidduch, to find your partner in life. And this is a long-standing tradition that in Israel, that that if you're having a hard time finding, someone to marry, an auspicious place to pray that Hashem should bless you with a soulmate is to daven at the grave of Yonasan ben Uziel and Amuka. And the story is told about, now typically the people you're going to find there who are, praying emotionally are people that are unmarried, which when it comes to women is something that you could very often tell because they're not wearing, their hair is not covered. Well, there was a story of a woman that was there in Amuka. She was obviously married, and she was praying there with tremendous joy and happiness, which is just a little bit out of place there. And she noticed that people were kind of looking at her. And she explained that she too was having a hard time finding her partner in life. She came to Amuka to pray, and a short while later, she met the man that she married. And she said, 1 second, please. And she said, she felt that if she came here to cry out in pain, that it was only right to return here to joyfully express her thanks. If this is where she cried out in pain, this is where she should come back and show her thanks. Because they always should be seen the same. Our pain, our thanks, they're all the same. Because of the fact that when we need Hashem, we're totally dependent on Hashem. And when we receive the blessings of Hashem again, it all becomes all because of Him. And that's the purpose of raising our voice to thank Hashem. Remember, thank Hashem the way you prayed. You prayed realizing that you're totally dependent on Him. Thank Him because you are totally dependent on Him and He has blessed you. Have a wonderful evening.